shining, the sun's just starting to hit the snow-topped mountains. It's probably about 20 degrees out. It makes you feel alive.
This week adventure, we're going back moose hunting. Part of my obsession quest was actually on the Safari Club list was to take all 4 moose, the Alaskan Yukon, the Western Canadian, the Eastern Canadian, and the Shiras. This week, my friends, we're going to Alberta for the Western Canadian moose, and we're going to go to Idaho for the Shiras moose that I actually filmed myself. 2 great adventures, 2 good moose hunts, part of your bucket list, I hope. Don't go away, it's exciting.
Bass Pro Shops and Alamositos Ranch present Bob Foulkrod's Hunting Adventures. Seven continents, 80 species, a 5-year quest in the making. High adventure, dangerous game. Real-world training tips. This is Bob Foulkrod's Hunting Adventures.
Man, we got in yesterday. It was great weather, you know. And Diane and John picked us up. John had actually did some cooking for us last year in camp on my bighorn sheep hunt. So he's going to go back in, cook for us again. Well, we have been traveling for 2.5 hours. We have about a half hour to go. How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you, Bob?
Good.
Nice to see you again.
As soon as we were able to walk, Dad used to take us out hunting all the time. It was something that we did continuously all the time. That's what kept our family together, was hunting. You know, friends, everything. It was all basically centered around the hunting season or things to do with the outdoors.
How are you? I'm Bob. Remember Bob? All I can say is a good thing I got my Gore-Tex. I ain't gonna make me sit in this cold bench.
You are 1.5 inches to the right, Bob, and 1/2 inch low.
So I'm to the right.
You're to the right, so you need to go to the left. Okay, you are 1 inch to the right and 1/2 inch high. It's just about on the X. Height looks really good. We'll have to reset your windage and then everything should be good for us, I hope.
This week's training tip is brought to you by Winchester Ammunition.
I don't know which one of my horses. Always have to have a conversation with him.
This particular hunt here, we're set up what we would call a spike camp. For most of our hunts in the earlier part of the year, we have a main camp halfway in between the cabins and the spike camps where we stage all our horses out of. But this particular spot right here, you know, we're 20 miles into the mountain from the trailhead. So it was a 5-hour ride for us to get into here. A little better than 5, just about 6 hours by the time we get into the camp and everything unpacked and that kind of stuff. So it puts us right back into the heart of some real good hunting country here. Well, Bob, we made her to camp here just before dark tonight and give us some time to get everything in our tents and set up for the morning hunt.
Pretty scenery, isn't it?
That's the Hog Creek Basin, and we're gonna go in there and get the Hog Creek hog.
There you go. Sounds like a plan.
You know, when I'm hunting, you know, mostly weekly, you know, you can't pay attention to the full moon. You know, we walked in here and it is absolutely full. You know, when it's full like that, it's going to shut Mother Nature down. It's going to shut the movement down because those animals are basically going to feed all night long, and that's what we ran into. We wasn't seeing hardly anything. We got up on top of the hill and we'd glassing down in the valleys trying to find these moose, and we'd see them just at the time you might get daylight enough to be able to hunt them, and they'd be back in the bush again.
We've been laying up here in this snowdrift here for a while, and I think we should just ought to pull back down here towards the horses, and we'll build ourselves a pot of coffee, get something warm to drink, and then we'll move over to the next ridge, sit up there, and we'll spend the rest of the afternoon glassing that basin there.
Yeah, that moon just went down. They ought to be at least standing up and stretching, looking around for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, just, you know, the
Midday.
snow is only a day old, and the animals haven't really moved after that storm yet. And this afternoon, I think we should start seeing some activity with the animals moving.
Yeah, that coffee sounds good.
Okay, let's go have one.
Spoil me.
This year, the weather is really unseasonably warm. For the mule deer, that really doesn't matter. They're getting into the pre-rut stage. You know what I mean? The deer are going to start moving. But for the moose, they're all haired up already for the winter time. So they start to heat up as soon as the sun starts coming up. So they move back into the timber. They're not out into the open as much. Most of the cows are bred. So the bulls are just hanging around the last few remaining cows. And if they're with a cow, they're fairly tough to call away. We've had some great weather the last few days here. The wind's been starting to pick up, and you know, it doesn't last like that forever in the mountains.
What do? You hunt hard. You know, you spend all day glassing, you're looking, keeping your morale high, eating good food, you know, enjoying the camp atmosphere, enjoying one another's company, because you know every day that moon got less and less, and we kept seeing more and more game.
We've chosen this area to hunt in because it offers us the opportunity for us to experience hunting at its purest form. It's everything. It's the trees, it's the lifestyle, it's the cooking on the wood stove, the splitting the wood, you know what I mean? It's the burning your muscles and your lungs when you're working hard to get up the hill, you know, not getting on your quad to drive across, you know what I mean? It's the physical labor that it takes to survive out here, you know what I mean? That we enjoy just as much as everything else.
Bob Foulkrod's Hunting Adventures is brought to you commercial-free by these fine sponsors: Gore-Tex, Winchester Ammunition, Kinnetrek, Kufaru, and LJ Blessings Ranch.
This time of the year here, the weather is going to fluctuate in temperature a lot from mornings to the evenings. Rivers are sure starting to freeze up at night, eh? A lot of times I've seen this time of the year almost 100 degrees variance from morning to night. You know, I've seen it where it's, you know, minus 20 below Fahrenheit in the morning when you wake up, and I've seen it 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the afternoon, just all in one day.
One thing I tell people too is when you leave that wall tent, you better be prepared to spend all night. Can you do that? You know, you may have a horse that go down, you may have the fog rolling, you may get into a snowstorm. There may be a lot of elements that stop you from coming back to that nice, comfortable wall tent. Choose your gear wisely because you might have to spend all night out there. The rut's pretty near over with, and you know, we see cow and calf. Boy, my heart started to pound. I says, because he's going to be following him.
That little column across this.
No.
So either we set up by that
Yep.
tree on the bank and range to there, or we go across the bank and set up by that little blowdown, but we get a much better view from right there.
I said we go to that tree, we got more view, and then we can work him, drop in this cut and go back and forth if we have to go up and down on it.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, there is a chance that he may come through to those little pines, and that'll be
Yep.
good for us.
Sounds good.
Well, a little bull came out, probably, I don't know, 35, 40 inches, you know. He'll be a big bull one day. Maybe have to come back and hunt him again. But that's it, you know. You're out there, you're looking for animals, and every time you see them, you just anticipate what's going to be in back of it.
It's a little too early in the hunt for a moose that size. He's about 45-inch bull. I'd like to give him a few more years to mature up. He's not even half the bull that the big one is that we've been waiting for.
For help with all of your hunt booking needs, contact J&M Safaris at jnmsafaris.com.
One of the biggest fears that I have is the fact that after you grow to love this country like this and the lifestyles that we live, is the fact that it's slowly shrinking all the time. It gets smaller every day, and you try to hold on to it, you know, and it's hard for people to understand what they're losing when they're not there all the time to see it. Because when you're there and you experience a little bit of it, and then you're gone back home to your regular life and you're doing your 9-to-5 job, and then you take your another 10 days next year to come for a holiday, you don't really understand what's been lost in the time that you've been gone. When you're out here all the time and you're watching it disappear constantly at a rate that it just can't sustain, it makes it really sad, because realistically people need areas like this. They need to be able to understand that there's more than the concrete jungle to live in. If there's anything, you know, people really need to stand up and, you know, realize, you know, and fight for what is left.
Bob Foulkrod's hunting gear includes a 300 short mag, Winchester 180 grain Nosler ballistic tip bullets, Swarovski optics, Redhead Polar Tech base layers, and Redhead Extreme Elements outerwear.
Right between them trees. Hey, Bob, he's gonna come out in the opening. There he is, Bob, right there. There That's him, Bob. Take him right there. You hit him. Oh, yeah, you hit him, Bob. Yeah, you hit him. He's over. He's down. He's down. He's down.
Down. Down. Yeah.
Down, man.
Woo.
Can you believe that? 500 yards.
Well, I'll tell you what, you can't make shots like that without a rangefinder. Ooh, what a bull.
Oh, yes.
Boy, look at that. Right there is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful Alberta moose. That's a nice moose anyplace. This is more than a hunt. This is pack trains coming in the snow-capped mountains, the wilderness, standing in wall tents, campfires, having good food, good friends, good outfitters, man. Thank you, man. What a great hunt.
Thanks, Bob.
Transportation for all of Bob Foulkrod's hunting adventures is provided by Victor Chevrolet. Check them out at victorchevrolet.com.
The Shiras moose is one of the largest animals on the North American continent. These magnificent members of the deer family sometimes weigh over 1,400 pounds. And the 5-foot spread of the massive palmated antlers are a crowning glory of the big bulls. Even with their huge size, the Shiras is the smallest of the moose family, and a big bull stands 7 feet at the shoulder. Moose have been hunted by humans since the Stone Age. They're perhaps the best tasting of all wild venison. And fortunately, through careful management, moose numbers are doing well throughout their range. For the Shiras strain, one of 4 varieties, that range extends roughly across the northern Rocky Mountains in Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, British Columbia, and Alberta, with a few isolated populations in Utah, Colorado, and Washington. Where habitat is preserved, modern game management allows the moose to thrive, as it does here in the Selway Wilderness of central Idaho.
This week's Conservation Angle has been brought to you by Wild Sheep Foundation.
It's true wilderness country, where the howl of the wolf may lull you to sleep at night, or keep you awake, depending on what you think of wolves. When in the snug base camp provided by the outfitter, Bob soon makes himself completely at home.
Well, ain't nothing like an old wood stove going in the middle of camp someplace. I'll tell you what, this is pretty neat. Crackling fire, wood heat.
John Meriden and outfitter Jason Klinkenbeard will be Bob's guides, wranglers, and mentors for the next few days. The first order of business is to saddle up and ride deeper into the wilderness, where a fly camp is set up in prime moose country. There's nothing like a backcountry trail ride to leave your cares behind with each passing mile. But if your behind isn't prepared for the trip, you'll quickly get sore about the whole thing. To avoid being saddle sore on the trip, Bob and Bass Pro Shops in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania have a high-tech solution for the lower part of the body.
There's a lot of horsepower in back of me between that nitro boat. We got a Toyota truck, Arctic Cat 4-wheelers over here. But unfortunately, I book a lot of hunts with a real horsepower, horses. They tell me I gotta wear pantyhose. Tell you what, this old country boy has a hard time putting a set of pantyhose on in a hunting camp. But they came out something I think they made just for me. It's called this Under Armour. It fits like pantyhose, so it doesn't rub next to your skin between your jeans and your Under Armour here, so you don't get those blisters where you don't want them. It doesn't say pantyhose, it says Under Armour. So I mean, this is the real deal here. And I'll tell you what, you can be out there riding them horses all day long, staying comfortable, not getting that horse rash, whatever they call that. It's the real deal. This is what I'm going to be wearing on that horseback trip this year.
Closed captioning has been provided by Swarovski Optics.
Next morning, it's time to go hunting. And Bob definitely doesn't have to go far.
John, I got a little bull moose out here. Come on. Look at him right there.
I'll be eating right there.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, Bob. Coming in on the left.
Holy,
Quick, grab your gun. There's a nice bull coming in right there.
wait, he's in a bad angle right there.
Can it really be this easy?
Hold on. Mules are coming.
Of course not. The mules pick just this moment to come trotting into camp, and that sends the bull trotting into the cover.
He's just gonna go up in that timber right there. I think we'll be in good shape. We'll tie these mules up real quick and we'll get Jason and we'll go get him.
How about that, huh?
Fortunately, moose are not like elk, which often run into the next zip code when disturbed.
Right here's where he went in.
Yeah, there's a little trail right over here. I think he can't be too far from where he was, but he's a little bit spooked from the mules.
He ran in here a little bit, but hopefully he won't go too far.
It's a good bet that the bull hasn't gone far. If the hunters can trace him through the heavy cover, there might still be a chance for a shot.
They just walked right out. They don't seem to be too worried about anything, but now we just gotta find something with horns.
Let's go find a bull.
Although Bob completed his obsession quest taking over 80 animals with a rifle, his first love has always been bow hunting. He's teamed up with longtime friend and archery coach Mike Price to help make you a better bow shot. This week's archery lesson is brought to you by Heritage Archery Academy and these great archery sponsors: Hoyt, True Ball, Easton, Limb Saver, Gateway Feathers, and Dirt Nap.
Today we're going to talk about the release side of your body. So if I split your body right here at your sternum, we're going to talk about the release arm, your anchor a little bit. We're going to talk about those things. Again, archery is truly repeat. Do the same thing twice, you get exactly the same results. So we're going to set even this side of your body up naturally to whatever your body dictates. So if you pick your arms up naturally, again, we want to be repeatable. The more natural, the more repeatable. My bow hand is going to break like this. My release, because I'm shooting a T handle that I'll show you in a second, is my fingers are going to break at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to look just like this. When I anchor, I bring my arm around and my pointer and my middle finger touch the middle of my chin. And that's my anchor. That's exactly where I'm going to anchor. And so the whole thing is how you can duplicate that like crazy, because if you go and you turn like this and I turn my hand up, which I used to do some, turn it up, is that more repeatable? Can I repeat this at different angles? Or is it better just to pick them up? I'm going to hold my release. In fact, I'm holding Bob's release, but I'm going to pick my arms up. My wrist breaks vertically just like my bow hand, but I'm going to turn my hand. Now I'm going to bring my hand into my chin. My pointer and my middle finger are going to intersect the center of my chin. This gives me my anchor point on my jaw. If I turn my head and acquire my target, my pointer finger locks right under my jaw, which gives me my elevation lock. If I turn up, I start rolling around the side of my jaw, which I lose my elevation lock. So my pointer is right here and it locks under my jaw. If I turn my hand more vertical, the more my hand floats on the side of my face and gives me high and low elevation shots. This is gonna make me shoot low. This is gonna make me shoot high. So again, natural, think natural. The other thing that happens when you draw a bow, so if I'm gonna draw a bow, I draw my bow, and a lot of times we'll drop that elbow and push our hand up into the shot. Remember, you're gonna be drawn a little bit below your chin, and you're gonna be picking your elbow up to bring your hand up. Your elbow, this whole arm works as one unit. That's much easier, because if you just move just your hand up with your elbow down, which a lot of guys look like this, you're using a lot more muscle than you have to. Draw the bow to get into your anchor. You pick your elbow and your hand up to your jaw, locked under your jaw with your elevation lock. Not only does this anchor work with a T-handle, but it also works with a caliper. With a caliper, it's going to be around your wrist. The release is going to come through here in your hand. You're just going to, again, if I lifted my arm, the release is protruding through the hole in my hand between my pointer and thumb, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to lock my thumb under my jaw to give me my anchor or my elevation lock. With a T-handle, it's my pointer. With my caliper, it's my thumb. This should help you repeat the shot.
Bob Foulkrod and guide Jason Klinkenbeard are in the Bitterroot Mountains of Idaho on the trail of a Shiras moose bull. After a few hours of stalking, they're within range.
Bob, right up here. Oh yeah, I see him. Get up that side right there. Gotta get this. Good shot, you got it. Look, he's going down. Oh, all right. Good shot, Bob. Yo, Mr. Jason. Yeah. I can't believe it, huh? John come up through here. He was walking right up there where we last saw him, and he just came in this little meadow right here.
He looks like a good bull from what I could see back there. I stand behind there.
He's excellent. He's excellent. I'll tell you what, a Shiras moose, huh? Excellent.
Good shot, Bob.
Oh,
good
man.
shot. Thank you.
Boy, he was pretty, wasn't he?
Now all that's left is to pack out the meat, the antlers, and the memories of a great hunt in grand wild country.
Just behind them, spruces right there.
Yeah, there's... Oh yeah, there he is right there.
Oh, Jason, look at that. Whew, gun's unloaded. Look at the size of this beast. Oh, look at that.
That is one hell of a bull.
Big old Shiras moose right there, isn't it?
That's a nice bull.
I'll tell you what, folks, if you don't put in, you won't get it. I put in for a Shiras moose. I had several good hunts with Jason, and what we did, decided to come right back in here, take them old mules and come back in there. It wasn't just a mile up the way that I shot an elk here just a few years back on almost the same exact trip, but I was hunting moose this time. Shiras moose.
After your successful hunt of a lifetime, contact Wes Good at CanadiStudio.com for the finest taxidermy in the business. Be sure to follow Bob and all his adventures at BobFoulkrod.com and on Facebook.